Hey all, what I've got for you here is a conversation that I did some reversals on between Clif and Jenny Moonstone. They were talking about the Elohim. They were talking about circumcision and some other topics. I didn't do the whole recording, I just did some, so maybe about the first 7 minutes. It was a long conversation. So this first clip is actually a reversed conversation between Clif and Jenny. So first Jenny says something in reverse, then Clif says something briefly, and then it goes back to Jenny. But this intro, the forward speaking, will take about 42 seconds to go through. So just so you know, it's a longer one than average.
He was like, Jenny, I don't know if you could ask this question on the air or if you just need to get him kind of behind the scenes. But this is in reference to your data. This isn't a personal question.
Okay.
But at some point, you made reference to, now bear with me. Apparently, at some point, you made reference to the foreskin of a penis being instrumental to the ability to pilot what we'll call a ship.
Okay, so I'm not absolutely sure that the first reversal from Jenny Moonstone is totally correct because I think I hear a P on the end of cost at that setup, but I think it's a very, very subtle, almost kind of swallowed P sound. So if you're going to say the P isn't there, I won't argue. So perhaps cost at that set would be the first part of the conversation. Then Cliff says something like, you reckon. And what's that last thing that Jenny Moons? Nut shock one, sir. So let me dive into what the metaphor of nut would be. Just give me a moment here. All right, I'm back and I took a peek in the reverse speech metaphor dictionary, and the metaphor, there's not a metaphor for nut in there, but I took the liberty of looking up what a metaphor for the word nut might be on Google. And apparently it was an early metaphor for head because to some eyes a head looked like a big nut. So her full reversal is nut shock one, sir. And I don't actually think that that refers to craziness. One of the things that tells me this is that the presence of the word sir is another metaphor, and that's a term of respect. All of those together in the same reversal indicate that it's not from the first level of the brain, but deeper from the unconscious, and perhaps even from the collective unconscious. And I think it is simply a metaphor for head, not the fact that she may or may not think he's crazy or whatever.
Can stem cells be beneficial in helping to repair that foreskin and sort of, create a more intact system?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how to interpret that. You're funny. Maybe it's some part of her mind kind of talking to the idea that you could repair the nerves that are damaged when one is circumcised, because maybe a part of her knows that's impossible. That's just my best guess.
First off, we can eliminate that right off the bat. There is no recovery. Okay, once the skin is gone, there's no.
I'm going to go ahead and interpret this last reversal as a congruent reversal. It seems to have like a bunch of kind of like interesting words, and it's almost like it's giving you extra information. But I think this is just a purely congruent reversal. In the metaphor dictionary of reverse speech, snow means purity, to cleanse, safe, to make whole. I think that based on the forward speech that Clif is giving, once the skin is, once it's done, basically, is what he's saying. And this appears to be congruence in relation to his forward talking about that. Now, you could say that what is pure about, like snow, about this? Perhaps Cliff's intentions of communicating this to humanity are of such pure intent that the collective unconscious just can't help but, dish that type of metaphor in reverse. I mean, it is also possible, since it came up twice, that it is a constant, or a constant with Cliff. And that has some potential implications to it. But and what's the other metaphor? Oh, yeah, egg. An egg said snow. So what he's talking about is of pure intent, and I think it's also something that's useful, or will grow into something that's useful for society to understand, based on the presence of the metaphor egg.
Questions that I would like to ask you of paramount interest to me. Honor.
There is no recovery. Okay, once the skin is gone, there's 2 to 5 million cells that are gone, that are neurine. They are attached to nerves.
All right, put simply, I think that this is a congruent reversal, and it's from the first level or conscious area of the mind.
One of my guys and myself, we think we're reading it correctly, where it's an intact male is required, right? But it could be that you have to be snipped in order for this machine interface to work. The language is so old that we just don't have a definitive answer on this. We're looking for other things that may confirm it one way or another. So at this stage, I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but there's also this other aspect. Sarah, that's the saucer.
So in listening to the Ford speech, and the part of the Ford speech that this reversal came from, it appears to be a part of the conversation where Cliff was sort of strawmanning him and his collective group's thinking on the ability of someone who's been circumcised to fly a UFO, let's put it that way, or whatever it is they were trying to pilot, or whatever. So he's considering the option that maybe the Sanskrit was misread by him and his team, and that if it were slightly mistranslated, that maybe someone would need to be circumcised in order to fly one of those crafts. I think that this is kind of like a mix of his conscious thoughts and kind of insights from his deeper mind. Ser, thus say the saucer, dope is the reversal. So Ser is an area that's painfully sensitive or tender. It could be anything causing an annoyance or a sore point. So this could be what he considers to be the fly in the ointment of his previous view that one needs to be uncircumcised in order to fly the machine. He's thinking, wait, what if I've got it backwards, and you need to be circumcised to actually fly those things? And thus say the saucer, dope. I guess it's just kind of a call for him and his group to be more open-minded, coming from his own mind, because that's what he's saying forwards and acknowledging in his forward speech. I would consider it to be congruent and expansive. Now let's take a look into what the metaphor saucer might mean. All right, the metaphor saucer, meaning imprecise. A flying saucer, a means of travel, almost a means of escape, a detachment of reality, a wish to be free. Let's go back to meaning imprecise. I think that they've decided to include this in the metaphor dictionary for reverse speech, but it looks like it's kind of open-ended and they haven't decided exactly what it means. Now there's that potential metaphor meaning, but there's also the meaning of like maybe something being served in a saucer. That's the only other thing I could think of, but I have to admit it's kind of a mystery to me as far as this reversal goes. I'll leave it up to the audience to determine what it means.
but it could be that you have to be snipped in order for this machine interface to work. The language is so old that okay, there's one of my guys and myself, we think we're reading it correctly where it's an intact male is required, right? But it could be that you have to be snipped in order for this machine interface to work.
All right, how can I explain this? Some of the reversals that you'll find with reverse speech, some of the metaphors that come from that, are very, should I say, crude. The following reversal is one of those. Some of the crude ones, they almost sound insulting, but they're not to be taken this way. Just go ahead and listen. You'll hear what I'm talking about.
Why and I don't want to call them the Jews because talk about broad, but a certain clan, a certain tribe that has sort of isolated themselves, alienated themselves, for lack of a better term, to be the enemies of humanity, the enemies of the future of humanity.
All right, so the first word in that amateurish, that could be an indication that she feels she's kind of stumbling through something, that she's not quite sure about what she's talking about. Perhaps that crude metaphor means that information went in and just ideas are being just kind of pushed out. Oh boy. So with the semen I eating, semen in the reverse speech metaphor dictionary is actually a very negative thing. So what we've got here are two kind of negative words coalescing, and that could be that an indication that she thinks that on some level of her mind she might have taken in either bad information or information that has led her to a conclusion that's perhaps a little too rough or broad or something like that. I'm not sure. I'll leave this one open for interpretation, but I just wanted to reiterate again, reverse speech is not supposed to be like one big nasty game of gotcha or anything like that. I'm sure that if we were to listen to all of our speech in reverse, we would find things that sound really crude and like, whoa, like what's my voice doing saying that type of stuff. So let's not make too big of a deal about something that's potentially just kind of like, raucous and immature like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man that does not need any introduction in our community. Sad name. Sad name. Sad name.
All right, so I'm not really sure what the phrase "sad name" could mean. I mean, I could ponder through a few possibilities. It could be a negative thing. It could be that an indication that she maybe has misgivings about some of the things that he said or thought on some level. I'm not sure. Another possibility is that it's such a short reversal, it could be a constant or, a constant phrase or whatever. I'm really not sure. People have lots of mixed feelings about each other, and maybe that's an indication of some sort of a mixed feeling towards an individual. That's my best guess. Anyway, that's the last of the bunch. Like I said, I only did a small fraction of what there was to uncover there, like the first 6 or 7 minutes. The thing was probably like an hour and a half, and I could have gotten through a lot more, but I'm thinking of reducing the size of my videos here on YouTube and other platforms, basically because it takes so much time to make a really, really long, thorough video. And I'm thinking it might be a better use of my time and more beneficial to the subject of reverse speech itself, not to get caught up in so many niche topics or do so many long form videos. I think what might be more appealing to people who are, more sort of in normie land might be to show some more normie topics that highlight what reverse speech does and doesn't, and maybe I'll mix in some of the interesting stuff that I like to nerd out on myself. But for now, I'm thinking of changing slightly the direction of the channel. But anyway, thank you for watching and have a good week.